Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. It is about time we redo this list. It's been about 2 months at least since the last time I did this video. It's one of my favorite videos to do, just talking about my most hyped decks that I'm really excited to test early with, do some early planning for, and just ultimately play when the cards finally come out. So this is my top 10 list on the most hype Yu-Gi-Oh decks for the future of Yu-Gi-Oh. So these are all decks that are either getting new cards or basically coming out fresh and new that we at least know about at this point. So this is my list. Keep in mind, everybody's list is going to be completely different. I don't want to spend too much time on any one archetype, but you know, just enough to give you guys an idea of why I'm excited, and we'll go from there. Make sure you toss in the comment section down below what your list might look like, or anything that's not on my list that you would also toss into yours. All right, let's start off with one honorable mention before we get into the real swing of things. I want to throw not Trickstars actually, but Marine Cess. This is one of the new Trickstar cards, but it applies to both. It actually counts as a Marine Cess card at all times. I just felt like this card on its own didn't give as much of a boost to Marine Cess as what would like warrant me to put this on like the top 10 list here. So it just fell off just because it's only one card. It's a nice card for the deck, but it doesn't like absolutely break the deck or anything. But it is a good card for them. But I am still excited to mess with them. All right, so let's get into number 10 officially. All right, so number 10 for me is Merlantians. They get their new wave of support here. They get the 2 new main deck monsters that really help the archetype. They really help tie in a lot of the lines together, which is really nice. They get the new Exceed that gives you some going second utility as well as also like board spam utility going first. And the new Link monster as well, which also just helps make your board that much stronger. We all know how scary this deck is in terms of its combo potential. The reason it falls down to 10 for me is, one, it's super combo oriented, which is not necessarily my style of deck, but also it's also kind of a degenerate combo deck, and that's another thing that I'm kind of terrified of. As long as Moonling Glacier is still around, this deck is a nightmare because you can hand rip 3 to 4 pretty consistently, and also set up a couple interruptions on top of it. So scared of the deck, but I do still respect it, and I do think it's cool because I've always had my eye on this deck. I just love the artwork and the way that some of the cards interact. So yeah, number 10 for me. All right, moving on. Number 9 for me is actually Blue Eyes, the new structure deck. We only knew 7 out of the 8 new cards. It looks like the final card is going to be an extra deck card, but even if they ended it right now, I think Blue Eyes is at least rogue with even higher potential already. They get the new Maiden monster, which is out of this world good for the archetype. So good for them. They get an awesome new search card. They get an awesome new Omni Negate that they can summon just by making their rank, their Synchro 9. That just tutors into this really easily. And they get the new Link 1, which is basically a 1-card play for a multiple different normal summons in the strategy. Really solid start. It looks like one more extra deck monster as well is coming. We'll keep an eye on that, but for right now it's 9. I'm not the biggest Blue Eyes fan overall, but I do think it's cool that Blue Eyes is like looking like it can be a legit scary deck going forward. It's going to have its time to shine, and you know there will be players running around with this at least at regionals, and maybe we'll even see it at YCSs. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. So that's number 9. Moving on to number 8. We've already talked about this one on, I believe, the last list, because we're still waiting for Duelist of Brilliance to be announced for the TCG, but it is what it is. I'm still excited for them. They get the whole new suite of XYZ monsters, which is really good, especially X-Cross Cannon. The other 2 are solid combo pieces as well. You get the new boss monster to go alongside ABC Dragon Buster in XYZ Hyper Dragon Cannon. You get an awesome new engine card in Union Controller. This is basically just a Link 2 that searches, basically, the way you summon it. You also have Union Activation, a good consistency spell card, and this deck is scary. I think it's being undersold a little bit just because it's not really doing much in the OCG, but I actually do think this deck is quite scary when it gets to the TCG, so keep an eye out for this one as well. That's number 8 for me. Number 7, Primordial. This is the only card I'm going to show here. I think this archetype's really cool, and it should be getting support in the next core set as well, so that also keeps this even more hype for me. But listen, I know it's a little bit degenerate because it's kind of stunny, but like Primordial Phantasm Spiral has me a little bit excited. I get it. It's kind of degenerate because the deck's probably just going to play 3 skill drain and maybe some other hand traps as well. Shifter's probably in there, no doubt. But I do just laugh at decks like this, and I think this one's just interesting because it's like you're not playing a Fossil Dyna degenerate normal summon type thing. You're playing just like a deck that doesn't care about like a third of whatever your opponent's playing in any modern day competitive format matchup. And I think that's so hilarious, especially since I don't even think the engine's like out of this world, but the Primordial stuff helps. And I still want to mess with them a little bit. I don't know how long I'll mess with them, but I do want to mess with them enough to at least, annoy some of the people at my locals for sure. All right, so that's number 7 for me, Primordial. We move to number 6 here, and that's Centurion. I am on the record saying I like Centurion. I really like a lot of what Centurion does. The only thing I don't like is Hot Red, Dragon Archfiend, King Calamity, whatever his name is. The degenerate win condition they use. If they did not have that card or access to summoning it, I would love so much more about the deck, right? Because it's all about the grind game. It's all about setting up follow-up. It's all about getting good advantage, right? And this new synchro is really, really good for them. Really, really good, especially since it's generic. So now even other engines could also get you, help push the Centurion engine, which is really nice. That's kind of my hope. My hope is that with all the tools Konami has given Centurion, that maybe they turn around now, they look at all the tools that the deck has on its own, and says, you know what, they don't need Calamity anymore. They don't need Calamity as a win condition. They're actually a somewhat competent strategy on their own. Let's ban Calamity, and let's let them exist as a cool mid-range strategy. I think that'd be awesome. I hope that's what they do, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. That's why it's kind of at 6, because I have tempered expectations, but I do really like this card. The other new main deck monster is also not bad for them. It's not amazing, but it's another extender sort of, so that works for them as well. But yeah, I'm always been high on Centurion. Number 6 for me. Now we get into the top 5. Let's start number 5 with Insects. They get the new battlewasp cards, and man, these cards are legit in my opinion. Now, I don't know if they're legit enough to take Insects all the way to the highest highs of competitive play. I still think they're 1 or 2 really good extra deck monsters away from Insects being legit top tier. But I don't think there's much I'd want Konami to even give the main deck for Insects anymore. It feels like engine-wise, the main deck engine for Insects is quite strong now between Resonance Insect and Gokipole and the cards the deck already had access to, B-Trooper stuff. Adding the battlewasp engine in really takes them to the next level. You get Rapier here, which is basically just Simoom from Blackwings, but for battlewasps. They get their own Black Whirlwind, basically. You search 4 times a turn off of this. You go super plus. You get Armament Swarm, which is kind of like an E-Tele for the deck. It's kind of more like a Rhoda, but it's really good. You just send Resonance and then pop Resonance, and then he searches a level 7 or a level 5 or higher, and you also get Resonance and rotation off of this. Really awesome card for the archetype consistency wise. And you also get a new boss monster in Grand Partisan that I kind of underestimated on release, but after talking to some people about the deck, they think the way to go is to make this guy with a quick effect way to banish him on the opponent's turn and get that board wipe effect, because that's pretty strong overall. So really cool wave of support here. I still want to mess with Insects. It is a little bit combo heavy, but they do some cool combo things where they're ending with like insect hand traps in hand, so it's not all on the field. I really like that aspect of it, and yeah, I've just always thought Insects are cool, and this support really makes me want to mess with them going forward. So number 5 for me. Now to number 4. You guys have known I've been talking about Sharks. Honestly, ABC, and I think maybe I talked about Primordial 2 months ago. ABC and Sharks may be the only 2 archetypes that I've already had on the last list. So this list is completely different because we've gotten so much cool stuff revealed lately. But Sharks, I'm really excited for them. The 2 biggest cards to me are definitely Surfacing Big Jaws and 7th Tachyon. I think they add so much consistency and reliability to the main deck engine, and that was always my gripe with the archetype. I thought the extract was solid. I don't really care about the new extract cards, aside from Lavertru Dragon, I think is pretty good. But outside of that card, I think the other new boss monster, I'm not going to play him. I can tell you that right now. But these cards are already enough. On top of that, with Konami's recent trends, they should be giving another Shark card or 2 in Supreme Darkness as well. So that on the horizon as well, with the potential to add even more to Sharks. I think they're scary. I really, really do. I think for a deck that has topped the YCS in the last calendar year, has topped the multiple regionals in this calendar year, to then also get this level of support, I think is really, really nice. And I'm definitely excited to mess with them, because I always felt like the lacking part of the deck was main deck wise, and I think that gets covered up a lot by these 2 new cards. So really excited to mess around with them. They are my number 4. On to number 3. Mylice. You knew this was coming. I think this archetype is really cool. I've always been somewhat of a Cybers fan anyway, and so this is just such a cool new take on the deck. I really am excited to... I'm actually probably not even going to end up playing the archetype, but my buddy Chris is. We do all the time. He's been on the channel a couple times before with deck profiles a while ago and stuff, but he really wants to mess with the deck, and I really want to help him get the deck to a high level, and I think like a mid-range version with like Shifter and some really cool stuff, I really think this deck has the chops to already be solid out the gate. And of course, you know, it's a deck build pack archetype, so it's gonna get 2 to 3 core sets worth of 1 or 2 cards a piece support. All I want is another 1 or 2 main deck monsters and another good spell, and I think the archetype's already like there. Plus, we don't even have one of their links revealed yet. We still get that revealed next week. Really excited to see where this archetype goes. I think it's already got the chops, and I think it works in a cool, different way from other cyber strategies. And plus, the lore tie-in to Alice in Wonderland is so cool. I love that tie-in, and I love how unafraid Konami has been to dive in on this one. I know like Alice in Wonderland isn't owned by anybody, or there are no legal troubles there, but still, you know, after Cosmo, being able to jump right into this one, I really respect it. So it's a cool one for sure. Yeah, cool link strategy. They have the traps that can activate turn 1. That's so cool. I love it when Konami makes archetypes with traps that are good enough to see play like immediately. It's why I like Labyrinth for a while. Yeah, this archetype has quite a bit that I like. All right, number 2 on the list. This one's gonna get some backlash for sure, and I don't care. This is Raizeol. This is my second hype archetype that I'm really excited to mess with. I know a lot of people don't like this archetype. I've seen so much negativity around this archetype and being like, this archetype is so boring. All it does is plop level 4s on the field and make rank 4s. So stupid. You put 2 4s on the field, you summon the rank 4 that searches 2 cards, you search 2 cards, and then you make 2 more rank 4s. That's all the archetype does. And you know what? You're mostly right. For sure. I'm not even going to argue against that. But what I do think is cool, especially as somebody who kind of came into the game basically right as Link started, and Link's basically replacing, especially during Master Rule 4, like every other like extract mechanic in the game, because all those decks that needed to go into multiple extract monsters that weren't Links couldn't do it anymore. And maybe I'm just a product of that, but I never really got to play during a format where it was kind of like rank 4 toolbox decks. And that was a big thing for a couple years, and I thought that was really cool when I read Castell for the first time, and Silent Honor Arc, and just these cool like utility rank 4s that I was like, oh, these are cool, and then like they were very quickly not good enough. We finally have a deck. This is like, we're talking, what, end of 2017? We're talking like 8 years later. No, sorry, 6 or 7 years later, we finally have got an archetype that, without restrictions on that, at least, does have a restriction, but it doesn't keep us from that. We finally have an archetype that it just says, put a bunch of 4s on the field, play your rank 4 toolbox deck that you never got to play back in 2017 when you got back into the game. And I think that's so cool. That's why I really want to mess with them. And I think they're pretty good for what it's worth too. You don't have to like the way they play, but I think you're going to come to respect the way they play and what they do. This guy's an insane engine piece. This guy's a really cool end board boss monster, and they have a couple main deck monsters that are really good, but X is, to me, seems wildly, insanely good. So I'm very excited to mess with that archetype. Which brings us to number 1. You might be able to guess it, but still, it's Mimighoul. I made a video saying Mimighoul has actually given me a little bit of hope for TCG exclusives. I tend to be a sucker for some TCG exclusives, Subterra being my favorite archetype of all time at this point. It was the first deck I ever really played competitively in any way, shape, or form, and Mimighoul has some ties to that. Both TCG exclusive archetypes, both based around flip monsters. Really cool stuff there. Here's where I'm at. I really like the first wave of Mimighoul cards. That was the basis of the other video I made about this archetype. The unknown and the scary part about putting them number 1, especially in a video like this, because this could completely fall on its face, and me as well, there's going to be 7 more Mimighoul cards in Rage of the Abyss when it comes out in 2 months, 2.5 months, or whatever. If those cards are solid, I don't even think they have to be that good. We're already seeing Mimighoul, like, I know we're kind of outside of the competitive format right now, we're waiting for events to start up again. It seems to be performing relatively well, and I think we'll see it with some regional tops, and that's cool. And I hope that they go to the next level. I want to see them make Master into a much more central piece of the archetype. It really feels like a lot of people are like, I want to cut Master. He feels awkward and weird. But he's a really cool boss monster. I like the way he works. The way that the rest of the cards work, he seems a little unnecessary right now. Not fully, but like more than like your main boss monster should feel. So I'd love to see that, and obviously just push them a little bit more. I want to see one more really good flip guy, because I really like Archfiend. I really like Dragon. I really don't like Cerberus, and that's a pretty common thing as well. Cerberus seems like everybody's agreement on, like, that's the worst card from the first wave by far. Can we get at least one more really good flip monster? Can we get a way to make Master, like, not feel not worth it to play? And go from there. So it's all unknown. So that's what's the scariest about this, because we don't know anything. We're going to just get the 7 cards in 2 months or whatever, and I'm going to be really excited. I'm going to have high hopes. I hope it works out for the best. But I really like the way this archetype plays. I've been having a good time messing with them so far, and I hope Konami nails that next wave. So there you go. Those are my top 10 archetypes, hype Yu-Gi-Oh decks going forward into the future of Yu-Gi-Oh. Love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Let me know what archetype I didn't have on my list that you would definitely have on yours. Everybody's list is going to be different, so keep that in mind. But I love doing these videos. I love hearing what you guys are most excited for. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this down the line. I always do a ton of news videos whenever new stuff drops, as well as discussions like this, and sometimes even some combo videos too when I mess around with decks and deck profiles as well. So, you know, everything just basically Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. So, subscribe to the channel if you're interested in anything like that, but I'll see you in the next one. I've rambled long enough at the end of this one. Peace.